Hi, and welcome to another edition of Right on Rangers Live, coming at you after a 49-17 victory, Texas Longhorns victory that is over the Florida Gators. Was not a particularly close one at any point. We'll take it. We will absolutely take it. The offense accumulates points often, early. Quinn Ewers has a career day. We're going to break down everything here in just a little bit. We're going to cover all of the highlights of the game, go through the box score with you, talk about some key moments, and then get a little bit into the renewed rivalry next week as the Texas Longhorns play the Arkansas Razorbacks. Man, I'm looking forward to that one. Great renewed rivalry coming up with the Razorbacks across state lines. Should be a good one. We'll get into everything here in just a sec, but first of all, here at Right on Rangers, we cover everything sports, but we put a big emphasis on all the teams we love from the great state of Texas, including the Rangers and especially the Rangers during football season. And we cover the Longhorns as well. Absolutely. Looking forward to a great show here. Longhorns will be a team that we are going to be covering every Saturday and every day that they play. Excited for the rest of the year. Now that the official college football rankings are out, it should be a good one the rest of the way. Every game pivotal, every game matters. And in this game, let's go ahead and start covering some of the players of the game. So Quinn Ewers, a guy that obviously had been dealing with some injuries earlier this season, came back for the Red River rivalry game, looked pretty sharp by and large, but definitely had some rust that he was shaking off. No rust today for Quinn. 19 for 27, 333 yards, 5 touchdowns. It was a career day for Quinn Ewers, and good to see. Good to see going into the stretch run of the season where Longhorns, I don't know if they have their toughest gauntlet or anything like that, but you are coming into playoff time here as December approaches. You want the offense clicking as well as they possibly can, and I think that today is a good positive step forward. Look, Florida gave a little trouble to Georgia last week. Not really sure what to think. Georgia has been a team that has struggled against some lower-level competition. Obviously looked really good against Texas, but I would say at this point, hard to make of anything what Georgia did last week against Florida. I mean, it was a 34-20 game. Georgia, of course, handled Texas in Austin. Didn't feel like it was ever particularly close. I will say this. You had definitely a defense in Texas against Georgia that was clicking on all cylinders. We had multiple turnovers in that game. Clearly, the ground game was working for Georgia in that one. Texas offense really couldn't get anything going at any point. 30-15 game it was when Texas played Georgia in Austin. I really don't know what to completely make of the Bulldogs going forward. We'll see what they do today. I think the game against Ole Miss is going to tell you a lot. Georgia up 7-0 right now, ranked number 3 in the country. Ole Miss, number 16, coming off of an absolute butt-kicking of Arkansas. And we're going to get into that Arkansas game. Texas, of course, playing the Razorbacks next week. First time in a while. That should be a good one. Another 9 a.m. start, at least for me out here in Vegas. 11 a.m. Central Time start. Believe it's another ABC game. So we'll get into that preview of the Arkansas game here in just a little bit. But first of all, let's talk about this one. Let's talk about the Horns. 5 touchdowns for Quinn Ewers, getting back to some of the key contributors today. Isaiah Bond, 99 yards total. Believe he had 40-something on the ground, 50-something through the air. A receiving touchdown also. And then you had Golden, 64 yards, 2 touchdowns. Had a nice catch kind of towards the side of the end zone, right on the sideline. Beautiful ball by Quinn Ewers as well. And then the defense. I mean, look, they give up 17 total. Definitely one of the higher point totals they've given up all year. I think Georgia clearly is the topper. The defense gave up 30 against Georgia, but I don't know how much we really hold against the defense in that Georgia game. There were multiple times where the offense turned it over. There was a short field, interceptions, fumbles, all that good stuff. You know what I mean? But I will say the defense really has been a staple all season long. One of the top defenses in college football. You look at a guy like Andrew Mukuba, 5 total tackles, had interceptions in this one. Anthony Hill, one of the best, if not the best linebacker in the nation, 7 total tackles. Trey Moore, 5 total tackles, a sack, a forced fumble. Defense came to play today. Absolutely. Look, a little garbage touchdown late. I'm not going to hold that against the defense too much in this one. You forced 3 turnovers. The Florida Gators offense just did not look in sync all game long. I know that they were not playing their starting quarterback, backup quarterback going in this one, but you took care of business. And I think if anybody's going to get player of the game today, give it to Quinn Ewers. I think Golden, maybe a close second. Isaiah Bond, another guy you can give it to. Trey Moore, for me, got to be the guy on defense. 5 tackles, a sack, a forced fumble. I loved watching him play today. So a good game going into, and I don't know if it's a tough matchup next week. Definitely a matchup you take care of business. But I think at this point, we're all counting down towards that Texas A&M showdown at Kyle Field later on this year. We'll see if the Horns are up for it. Kyle Field, always a tough place to play. Don't want to overlook any of your opponents at this point. You still got Kentucky coming up after the Arkansas game. And then that A&M game is on November 30th. It'll be nice to have that one back. That was always a staple for me growing up. 2011, the last time that they played each other. It's going to be fun to renew that rivalry. I think we're all just hoping that one can get here sooner rather than later. That is going to be a fun day in college football. But you got to take care of Arkansas first. Got to take care of Kentucky. Arkansas will be on the road, Kentucky at home, and then you go to Kyle Field on November 30th. Looks like to be determined on the game start time. A&M coming off of a little bit of a rough game. I think a lot of people thought A&M might run the table, but of course, A&M losing to South Carolina, bad loss, 44-20 blowout. We'll see how they bounce back. I don't know who they have today. I'll have to look at the full schedule here. Looks like they are off today, A&M is, but they come back with a nice little cupcake, New Mexico State. They'll play Auburn as a tune-up game, and then Texas comes to town. We're all counting down towards that one. For the Longhorns, good to see them taking care of business today. When Georgia kind of was going back and forth with Florida last week, the game was a little close. I kind of thought to myself, all right, are we going to see a good game against the Florida Gators? Is it going to be close? And the answer was a resounding no. This game was never close, which again makes me wonder about Georgia. Don't know if they're just a team that plays down to the competition. Very well could be. They may just be a team, the Bulldogs, that just plays a little bit down to the competition. It feels like they've done that all year long. They got up for the Texas game. We'll see what happens today as they play Ole Miss. Georgia up early 7-0 in that one. But going back to the game today, I thought maybe Florida would give Texas a little bit more competition in this one. I mean, look, I'll take a blowout all day long, but I think watching them against the Bulldogs last week, I kind of wonder, would they potentially come today ready to play, ready to give the Longhorns some fits? I'm glad it was not meant to be. Looks like Mississippi, Ole Miss, that is about to score here. Did they just make it 7-7? I see that in the TikTok comments here. 7-7. There we go. Look, I would love to see Ole Miss knock off Georgia at home today. That'd be beautiful. I'm not going to hold my breath on that one, but I would like to see Ole Miss knock off Georgia. Just make it a little interesting. I mean, look, at this point, I think Georgia's probably going to have to lose 3 games to not make it to the playoff. But maybe, you never know. It could get dicey with some of these undefeateds. But I feel like Georgia's probably going to have to lose 3 games to get knocked all the way out of the playoff talk. Just me. Let me go to some comments here. Tristan, what's going on, man? Thanks for tuning in. What a great day to be a Texas Longhorns fan. Miami loses, hook 'em, all the above. Miami just soiling the bed against Georgia Tech. Not something I expected. Nearly double-digit favorites Miami was over Georgia Tech. Yes, Georgia Tech playing at home, but I don't think anybody expected to see Miami go down. Look, I figured Miami was going to be ranked higher than Texas. I don't think Miami is on the level of Texas at all, and I think Miami has had some very close games this year. But look, it all works itself out in the end. Texas is going to be jumping up to that 4 spot here in a second. We'll see. Maybe they take the 3 spot if Georgia stumbles against Ole Miss. I think as long as Georgia stays with that 1 loss, they're going to stay above Texas, no doubt. But could get interesting here. Ole Miss just ties the game 7-7. That one is going to be one I got my eye on after the show, during the show. Going to be fun to see what they can do against Georgia. Again, a team that appears to struggle a little bit against inferior competition. I don't think there was any way they weren't getting up for that game against number 1 Texas on the road. But Georgia just likes to play around with their food more than any other top team, I feel like, in college football. We're going to have to see what ends up happening in that one. We'll get back to it in a little bit. But my big lead for today with Texas, my big lead for today with the Horns. Yes, the numbers look gaudy today. I mean, Quinn Ewers, again, going for 333 yards, 5 touchdowns. The numbers look gaudy. But I will say this, I can't help but shake the feeling that this team offensively still has just not hit that 5th gear. It's just an eye test. It's just a feeling. I know that the stats don't back it up. I know from just the box score, you're just looking at it casually. It looks like they absolutely dominated today. And in some ways, I feel like clearly they did. But I feel that Quinn Ewers still does not look like championship level Quinn Ewers. I don't feel like this offense has totally hit its stride yet. I know that might be an unpopular opinion coming off of a win. Look, you watched the game today. Quinn Ewers absolutely had some great throws. I can think of a particular deep ball that I believe Golden, maybe, I forget who it was that dropped it. It was not a pretty moment in the game, but look, he would go on to redeem himself. But Quinn Ewers had a couple of beautiful balls deep, but I will say this, I just feel like he just has not hit his stride yet. I can't explain it. I know that a lot of people might push back on me, but I don't know if this offense is at championship level yet. You look at some of Quinn's touchdowns, they're wide open, they're dink and dunk touchdowns. He did have the really nice touchdown throw to Golden in the corner of the end zone early on in the game. That was a beautiful throw and catch, 100%. But all the other touchdowns, it seems like wide open, schemed up, dink and dunk. I just don't know if I feel that this offense is at championship level yet. They did dominate. I do think you got to take it with a grain of salt. It's Florida, and it's not the Florida of the early 2000s. So for me, I really am hoping to see, as this Longhorns team builds towards the playoff, hopefully an SEC championship appearance, A&M especially, I hope that you see the offense hit that 5th gear. I just feel like they have another gear that they haven't gotten to yet. Sark, I think, is doing a beautiful job of scheming things up for the Longhorns. You're seeing a lot of wide open receivers, and I think that is all Steve Sarkisian. I mean, a lot of the touchdowns today were wide open touchdowns. Matt, totally agree. By the way, I'm checking comments as I go. Look, the 2 drops from Moore did not help. So this is not a Quinn Ewers bash session by any means. I think Quinn had a great day. All I'm saying is I think this offense has another level. I don't think they've hit it yet. I know the stats don't back that up today, but you watch the entire game from start to finish. You just feel like this offense is leaving stuff on the table. You feel like they just are not completely at 100%. And look, there's still time left. They've still got Arkansas. They've got Kentucky. I think you want to be sharp going into Kyle Field, going into that A&M game. And of course, going into the playoff, which I can only assume the Longhorns are going to make. I think even if Texas loses 2 games, they probably sneak into the playoff one way or another. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I think Texas is going to have to lose 3 to totally get knocked out of the playoff. I feel Georgia has a similar path. I think you're going to see Georgia in the playoff unless they just get absolutely smoked in a second loss. I think Georgia loses again. Let's say they lose to Ole Miss today. You're probably still going to see them find their way into the playoff one way or another. And I think Texas is the same way. I think if Texas gets blown out by Arkansas, they get blown out by Kentucky, they get blown out by A&M, maybe it starts getting dicey. Any kind of close loss, I think you're still going to see a two-loss, Texas team make it in. Feel the same way about Georgia. So I would like to see the Horns offensive unit continue to build. Quinn, I think maybe still not 100% completely. I know the stats look gaudy today, but I just don't feel like he is still playing at the level that he can. And I feel like this offense has another gear. I want to see it get unleashed at some point before the A&M game. I think Quinn Ewers is a big game quarterback. I know that the Georgia game, he didn't have his best. Of course, got replaced late in the first half by Arch Manning, who, by the way, I was glad to see get in today. I'm glad that Arch got some time today. I think Arch is absolutely going to be the future, and I think the more you can get him in, the better. It's good to see. There's no real pushback from Quinn. I think at the beginning of the year, I thought to myself, maybe Quinn would have a shot at a Heisman. I think the injury pretty much took that off the table. Of course, the abdominal injury, I'm talking that he sustained early on in the season, missed a couple of games. But at this point, when the Horns are up big, you want to see Arch get those reps. So he is just even that much more prepared going into next year. So glad to see Arch get in a little bit today. But Quinn Ewers, I think he's got another gear. I think this Longhorns offensive unit has another gear. I think Sark is in sync. I think he's dialing up a lot of good stuff. You saw a lot of wide open receivers today. You saw a lot of wide open screens today. I really, really was pleased overall with the Longhorns and their performance today. I don't think you walked away thinking this was an ugly win in any way. I think you walked away thinking there's still a little bit they left on the table, but by and large, a very solid performance. At this point, you could have gone out and done what Georgia did last week against Florida. Could have been a really tight game. Could have been a game that was a little more back and forth. This game was never close. Never was close. So I'm glad to see the Longhorns coming out today, taking care of business at home. You go to Arkansas next week, go to Fayetteville, and hopefully you do the same thing and you just continue to build towards that classic rivalry, renewed rivalry with Texas A&M. I'm excited for that one. You don't want to overlook Arkansas. Don't want to overlook the Razorbacks or Kentucky. But I think we're all real excited. I don't think there's going to be a bigger game, maybe beyond the Georgia-Texas game. I don't know if that Red River game really lived up to the hype, but I am excited for that A&M game. Hopefully it's a game the Longhorns win on their way to an SEC championship. Yeah, I got to agree. Vortex Vibes, what's up, by the way? You know, you had Ewers, I believe, who fumbled the ball on a sack. I think you had a couple others that were close. Look, maybe those end up making a difference, but I think the Longhorns outclassed the Gators in every facet of the game. And I'm excited for next week against the Razorbacks. Wildcats should present maybe a little bit of a challenge. I don't know if they've quite been what they have been over the past couple of seasons. I know the Wildcats gave Georgia a little bit of a scare there at home, I believe, right? Georgia was on the road in that one. But like I said, you've kind of seen Georgia play around with their food all season long, except for the Texas game. I mean, that game, Texas kind of tried to come back late there for a second. They forced a lot of turnovers out of Carson Beck, but I can't say it ever felt like that game was really out of Georgia's control when they manhandled the Longhorns in Austin. I hope that that's a game that Texas just gets out of their system and they're ready to go. I got to imagine they learned a lot from that Georgia game. And it's not going to surprise me to see Texas continue to build positively towards the playoffs. Again, I think that is a lesson that the Longhorns learned from that game against the Bulldogs. Not going to shock me to see them continue to get better and better as they make their way towards the SEC championship and the playoffs. Yeah, I got to think, obviously, the Longhorns are going to be number 4 at minimum with Miami going down. I don't think that they are going to hop over Georgia as long as the Bulldogs don't lose another game. That being said, 7-7 right now against Ole Miss. Looks like Ole Miss has the ball at the 50. We'll see what happens in that game. Obviously, I'm going for Ole Miss. I hope that they clean up against Georgia. I'm sure Georgia is going to have a tough time totally getting mowed over. I think they're going to probably give Ole Miss all they got, especially if this one is tight late. I can't say that I'm expecting a victory for Ole Miss, but I would more than love to see it happen. Let me get to the TikTok comments. I kind of neglected y'all. Let me keep going here. Let me scroll back to the top, see what we got here. Let's see. Hook 'em horns, absolutely. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. Let me keep going. We got a couple other comments. Gotta love a host that's indifferent about comments I've painstakingly typed out. Oh, my goodness. I hope you'll survive. I hope you'll be okay. Hook 'em. Yamaha, what's up, man? Hook 'em. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. All right, keep going here. You know Texas will be 4 depending on Georgia, Ole Miss. Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's nowhere really else for them to be with Miami losing. I can't believe Miami lost to Georgia Tech, but yeah, Horns will be 4, maybe 3 if you get Ole Miss knocking off Georgia here. Casey, what's up, man? Yes, agree. Take it with a grain of salt. Like we're not shouting this one from the rooftops. Horns handled business today. I don't think anybody expected them to lose. They were 21.5-point favorites in this one at home. I don't think anybody expected the Longhorns to drop this one. So no, I don't think nobody should be puffing out their chest too much after this one. I honestly think they will hit it offensively in 2 years with Arch. Yeah, again, I'm not trying to be a hater. Look, I'm not trying to hate on Quinn Ewers and the day he had. I think Quinn had an outstanding day, a career day, but my feel, just take it or leave it, watching the game is this team has another gear. They have another level that they just haven't hit yet. I don't feel like they've hit their stride quite yet offensively. You feel like they probably could have scored on every single offensive drive against this Florida Gators defense. When they were getting stopped up a little bit there early, they missed the field goal at the beginning of the game. You just felt like they left a lot on the table early. This could have been a 60-point scoring affair, I think. Just my take. Like, again, not being a hater, not trying to be too picky, but I think anybody that watches that game start to finish, you just feel like this Horns offense can take it to another level. By the way, now I am going to be a little bit picky. Is anybody at all concerned against our kicker, Auburn? I mean, I'm just a little bit concerned. I feel like he has missed a number of kicks this year. Maybe I'm going over the top here, but Bert Auburn misses, I feel like, a chip shot today. Look, on the season, I'll check out the stats on the season. He's 6 for 8, so he's only missed 2. The one that he missed, the 2 that he missed, I don't know if I'm going to get it. 40 to 49 yards. I don't know. I know I'm being picky. The dude's only got 8 total attempts, but 6 for 8 on the year. Missed a low 40s yard field goal today. I don't know. I hope he gets back on track. It's just I can't say I feel super comfortable with him back there. He's hit 3 20 to 29 yarders. He's hit 3 40 to 49 yarders. No 50 pluses this year. Look, the Horns offense has been so good, punching it in the red zone. You really haven't had to worry about him, but you just don't feel like the guy's as automatic as he was last year. I know he's only missed 2 field goals, so I'm being a little bit picky. I totally get it. Let me keep going here. Ewers went off today. Yeah, the numbers definitely say that. But look, Ewers had a lot of yards after the catch today. The screen game was wide open today. A lot of guys wide open in space. Look, you had even the touchdown that he threw earlier in this one. To Helm, that one wide open. You had a number of different touchdowns that were just wide open, schemed up perfectly by Sark. Ewers definitely the numbers. He went off today. Again, just feel like there's another gear there. Take it or leave it. Like I said, not trying to be a hater, but I feel like there's absolutely room for them to get better, which is scary. That's scary. They keep on improving. They scored 49 points today. Again, I feel like they could have scored 60 plus at minimum today. Look, Arch gets in late. Maybe that has something to do with it. Not that there's a huge drop off with Arch, in my humble opinion. I don't think there is. But I know Quinn Ewers goes out, early fourth quarter, late third quarter, something like that. But good to see Arch getting some time. You just felt like there were probably a couple of touchdowns that got left on the table today. Arch, by the way, 3 for 6, 19 yards. I don't know if he had any rushing attempts. Don't think he did. So look, glad that he at least got some reps. I think that's the key thing. If Quinn goes down with injury at all, you don't want Arch to be totally cold. So good to see him getting some reps today, 100%. Longest kick, Vortex, thanks for tuning in here. Appreciate the comments as well. Longest kick was only 49 yards. Yeah, he hasn't really been tested. I know that I'm being picky about Auburn. I know that I do. 6 picks this year. Are we talking about Quinn? Yeah, 14 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, QBR 68.4. Look, his quarterback rating this game was off the charts. But QBR 68.4 on the season. Look, I feel like Quinn has more to give. He had a great game today. Don't want to be too picky about it, but I think he has more to give, and I think this offense can be better, especially considering the fact that you've had multiple games where the offense has turned it over, not look 100%. The Georgia game only scoring 15. I just think that this offense can do more. And that's all I'll say about that. I don't want to go on and on. So next week, you've got Arkansas. Arkansas is coming off of a bye. I think that definitely helps them out. I don't think that it's a game that the Razorbacks are going to be able to win. Of course, I'm a little bit biased, but I don't think even a bye week is going to help out Arkansas. I think Texas, better coaching, better weapons, offense and defense. I can't see the Razorbacks pulling off the upset. Yes, Arkansas has had some nice games this year. Absolutely. They've had some nice games. You go back a couple of weeks to that Tennessee game. They won 19-14. It was a close game, their biggest win of the season. They really have not done a whole lot other than that. They lose to A&M 21-17. LSU pummeled them 24-10. Mississippi State, they were able to win by multiple touchdowns, but then they got absolutely drubbed, Arkansas did, by Ole Miss, probably their biggest rivalry, 63-31. So the only things I can really think of as an argument for Arkansas maybe coming out with a puncher's chance in this one is the fact that they just got embarrassed by Ole Miss and they've got a bye week, 2 weeks of prep. That, I think, always usually gives the other team a little bit of advantage. More well-rested, more chances to scheme things up. I still think the Horns are going to take care of business. In fact, I don't know if there's a line out for this game quite yet. Looks like I might have to do some additional research here. We'll see if there is a line out for the Arkansas-Texas game. We'll see. I'll look it up real quick. Arkansas-Texas line. Let's see. I'm going to make a prediction here. I'm going to say 24. I don't think it's going to be anything less than 20. I would be really, really surprised. I'm going to say, wow, it's opening up. I was way wrong. Looks like it's opening up at 17. Now, usually they say that you have home field advantage that's worth about 3 points. So they're saying Texas is about a 20-point favorite here at a neutral field. 17. I think a lot of people are probably going to take Texas in that one. I know I would be. It's actually 16.5 right now. Looks like DraftKings has it at 13.5 right now. I would be pounding that 13.5 line. If you like Texas, get that 13.5 line, DraftKings, immediately. I do not see this game being a single-digit game. I see the Longhorns winning by multiple touchdowns. If you like Texas, get that line while you can. 13.5 at DraftKings. I just cannot see at all Texas not winning that game by 14 or more. We'll see what happens, though. Again, Arkansas, you got to imagine they're going to come out with some fire after getting embarrassed by Ole Miss, and you got to imagine 2 weeks of prep for Texas. They're going to come out maybe early on, have a little bit of success, but I just think Texas is too much. Better coach, a better talent. I would really be shocked to see a close back and forth game in this one. So we'll be back next week. We'll definitely make sure that we go live after that one. It's going to be another early game, 11 a.m. Central Time, Texas time start, 9 a.m. start for me out here. And then we'll go live shortly after, just like we did today. Good stuff, though. Look, not a lot of controversy in this game. This game was not particularly entertaining for anyone not a Texas fan, but good to see the Longhorns continue positive momentum. Quinn Ewers has a big day. We also had, of course, Golden with the 2-touchdown day. Bond, almost 100 yards total through the air and running the football as well in a receiving touchdown. Mukuba, 5 tackles, an interception. Anthony Hill, beast of a linebacker, 7 total tackles. Trey Moore, 5 total tackles, a sack, a forced fumble. This defense has been all reliable this year. Like, they have just always, I feel like, come to play. Look, throw out the Georgia game. They were working with the short field multiple times. I know it looks like in the box score like the defense got worked over in that Georgia game. They forced multiple turnovers from Carson Beck. They worked with the short field probably 3 or 4 different times in that game. The defense has been the most reliable unit for the Longhorns. I think you got to give them all of the credit and praise that you can. They balled out today. I'm looking forward to see what they do against Arkansas next week. I got to imagine the Longhorns feel like they can still be better. I know I feel like they do, and that is scary considering how consistent and reliable they've been this year. Yes, that Vanderbilt game was a little close at times. I still say they did not look like they were at all going to lose that game at any point. I know Vandy made it a little bit interesting late, but I don't feel like you ever felt like Texas was in danger of losing that game. Let me keep going here. Texas A&M Vortex 5 says is the only ranked team Texas has to play for the rest of the year. They should take care of business against the Razorbacks, against the Wildcats. Tuning up for that game at Kyle Field. That is going to be a huge game. I wonder what the tickets are for that game. I'm going to look that up real quick. Tickets, Longhorns, Aggies. Let's see what tickets are going for right now on StubHub. I'm going to go 250, 300. 250 or 300. Let's see what we got. I'm just looking it up right now on StubHub. 2 tickets seated together. Woo! I was way off. Look, the cheapest seat on StubHub right now for the A&M University of Texas game on November 30th. The cheapest seat is $707 a piece. $707. Cheapest seat that you can get if you want to go to the A&M game. That is ridiculous. Hey, look, I'm sure it's going to be an incredible experience. I'm not even going to lie to y'all. I'm not paying $700 for that game. I am not paying $700, probably over $500 for a game unless it's playoffs. I mean, that to me is a ridiculous amount of money. $700+ to go sit in the nosebleeds. You want to go lower bowl in that game? You want to go lower bowl? You're paying $2,000, $1,000 $1,300. Wow. That is incredible. What a game that is going to be. Look, there's going to be so many people tuned into that one. That is going to get a number in terms of TV ratings. I'm not paying $700 to go to that game, but look, I'm sure it's going to be an incredible, amazing atmosphere. Probably one of the best games of the college football season. Don't know if it's going to top Georgia, Texas, but it might be up there. It might be up there. We'll see. All right, y'all. I'm going to call it a day. We'll be back tomorrow for the Cowboys game. Cowboys, by the way, let's talk a little bit preview on that one. Cowboys will play the Eagles tomorrow, 3:25 Texas time start. So we'll go live right after that game, right before Sunday Night Football. Cooper Rush. In Cooper Rush, we trust. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Big game against the Eagles. Cowboys 3-5, looking to get back on track. Philadelphia 6-2. It's going to be a tough game for the Cowboys. Still got some people banged up. Cooper Rush getting his first start of the season for Dak. Think CeeDee Lamb is going to be playing, but we'll be live after that game, hopefully after a Cowboys win, to talk all things Cowboys football. Thank you again for tuning in. Appreciate all the likes, the comments. Thank you for anybody that followed. If you're not following, not subscribed to the channel, would greatly appreciate if you hit that follow or subscribe button. Let's keep growing this good group of people we got talking football, college football, NFL. We love it. Hope y'all have a great rest of your Saturday. Hope everyone has a good weekend. Come back tomorrow. Join us to talk a little Cowboys. Shane says, I hope Dak is done for the rest of the year. Look, I'm not even going to lie to y'all. I'm actually excited. I'm low-key excited to see what this offense looks like with Cooper Rush. Maybe it looks like dog crap terrible. I don't know. But I'm actually excited to see what the offense and what the team does with Cooper Rush. Definitely not giving up all hope, but I am not feeling great about the Cowboys' playoff prospects at this point. Maybe they go on an epic run with the backup quarterback. Who knows? Not holding my breath, but just going to enjoy some Cowboys football tomorrow. We'll be back after the Cowboys-Eagles game. Come back, hang out, but have a great rest of your weekend until then. And as we say to end every show, God bless and hook 'em.